You sense it, even though you don't want to see it. Something is wrong. Not with you, not within you, but around you. You've already noticed it. This trembling in the air, this slight, barely perceptible shift in the glances, in the pauses, in the unspoken sentences. You notice it when the room goes silent as soon as you enter. You feel how glances meet, but not with yours. How someone looks away even though they know you. How someone smiles, but it sounds too rehearsed. There is something, and you know it. Not with your head, not rationally, but your body has stored it. Your nervous system has long stored the truth before you are even ready to receive it. Because someone is carrying something. A weight, a secret, a confession. And it doesn't belong only to them. It concerns you, it changes you. If you knew it, everything would shift. The images you had, the stories you believed, the people you trusted. Everything would tip over. Everything would break. And you know, there is no turning back. Maybe it's a lie that has cost you years. Maybe it's a decision that someone made without you, but about you. Maybe it's a silence that screams louder than any word. You felt it when you spoke to the person, when you thought everything was normal, when you heard their voice and your innermost self contracted. This pull, this burning behind your forehead, this perception that something is being withheld, not out of malice, not necessarily, but out of fear, out of guilt, out of shame. And yet, it concerns you. It shapes you. It changes everything, even if you know nothing yet. You have the feeling of moving through reality in slow motion, like a movie that is about to reveal the truth, but you don't know the scene yet. Do you know that feeling? This vague sense that beats between your ribs, when you look someone in the eyes and you know, there is something you are not telling me, but you remain silent, because you are not ready, or because you don't want to lose anyone, or because you believe it will disappear on its own, but it never does. Truth does not disappear. It rots. It ferments. It simmers beneath the surface until it erupts, uncontrollably, relentlessly, and you will never be the same again. Maybe it is a betrayal, a word spoken behind your back, a decision against you disguised as care. Maybe it is a confession, one that takes the ground from beneath your feet, but you already feel it. Your soul noticed it, long before your mind could catch up. You started to question yourself, thought you were too sensitive, too suspicious, too complicated. But the truth is, you perceived too much, read too much between the lines, felt too much in the pauses, and right there lies the truth. You were never crazy, never oversensitive, never wrong. You were awake. Your intuition was awake, and it was ahead of you. Because the confession does not live in words, it lives in behavior, in the way someone stops showing themselves, in how someone too often distracts, in how someone doesn't touch you when you need it the most. You ask yourself, why doesn't anyone say it? Why do they remain silent when everything inside them is screaming? Because truth can destroy, because truth can break relationships, tear down masks, shatter facades. But truth is also purification, fire, liberation, and maybe you are about to receive it. Have you ever felt like someone is looking at you but with guilt? Not with love, not with pride, but with guilt. Because they know they carry something that would break you, and they know that you will find out someday, not through words, but through behavior, through distance, through what is missing. A call that never comes, a glance that averts, an answer that takes too long. You notice all of this because your soul is trained, because you have learned through pain to distinguish between lies and silence. And that makes you dangerous, uncomfortable, clear. You are not a victim. You are a seer. You have the gift of seeing behind the facade. And that's why people tremble before you, because you bring the light that exposes darkness. Perhaps someone has done something they believe you would never look at them again after knowing. Perhaps it was betrayal. Perhaps it was cowardice. But you are closer to the truth than you think. You are on the brink of a revelation, and it will not be quiet. It will shake you, destroy you, reassemble you, because truth is not a gentle light. It is a blinding flash, a storm, an earthquake. When the confession comes, you will not be surprised. You will finally have it confirmed. What you have long felt, what you have always suspected, your body knew it. Your heart bled for it. Now comes only what you have long carried, only finally in words. And then the power lies with you to decide. What will you do with this truth? Will you honor it? Or will you silence it again, this time out of fear of the consequence? If you are honest, you saw it coming. In dreams, in hints, in small breakdowns. And now, everything will be newly sorted. Will you stay? Will you leave? Will you start anew? Or rot in the old story? Because that is what happens when truths come too late. They destroy illusions, but they save identity. You were never too sensitive. You were too close to the source, too close to the light, too close to the pain, and that sharpened you, prepared you, made you permeable. Now comes what has long been overdue, a confession, a truth, an unmasking, and you will not go under. You will rise, you will not break, you will remember who you really are. Now is the time. The confession is coming. It was never far, just hidden, near you, maybe right in front of you. Be ready, because when it is spoken, nothing will be the same as before, and exactly that is your liberation. If this has spoken to you, comment. I felt it before I knew it. You thought you were over it, you were silent, you forgave, you understood, but deep inside you something lies buried. Something that does not die, it just sleeps, and now it is awake. You hear this voice inside you again, this quiet, burning memory. There was something wrong, not wrong with you, wrong against you. You adapted, withdrew, functioned, and exactly in this the confession hid itself, in your silence, in your withdrawal, in your internal, maybe I'm imagining it all, but you imagined nothing. You perceived. You were a receiver, a seismograph, a mirror for that which others could not bear, and now you feel it again, the tremor, the shadow in the air, the tension before the storm, because you know it is coming, not much longer, and this time you will no longer pretend as if you did not notice it. You will no longer smile it away, no longer cover it up, no longer compensate for what was never your fault, because the confession is not just a word, it is an explosion, a tear, an uncontrollable moment in which everything that was withheld from you suddenly becomes loud. Do you know this moment, when your heart stumbles, but not out of love, rather because something inside you says you are about to be hurt, not out of chance, not out of malice, but because someone knew what they were doing to you and remained silent anyway. Maybe it was a decision that changed your life, behind your back. Maybe it was a mistake, one that was never confessed to you, and yet it still hit you. You carried the shards without knowing where the blow came from, and exactly that is the true poison, not the pain itself, but the not knowing, the constant feeling that you need to protect yourself from something invisible, something unspoken. But now, you are too tired to keep lying to yourself, too awake to fall back asleep, too close to the truth to ignore it again, because it lives, this confession. It breathes beside you, in the vicinity, in the same room, and you see it. In the eyes that suddenly soften when you address something, in the hands that tremble when you become honest, in the voice that breaks, not in front of you, but in front of itself. It is there, and it is coming. Maybe it will be spoken at night, maybe between the door and silence, maybe in a fight that no one wants to end, but it is coming, and it will pull you back. Not into the past, but to the place where you started to stop believing in yourself. You will see yourself again, back then, fragile, doubting, searching, how you tried to make sense out of the chaos, how you thought you were the problem, but you were the echo, not the source, and now you get the original, unadulterated, naked, brutal, a confession that will explain everything. But excuses nothing, because you know honesty only heals if it comes in time. Too late is also violence, delay is also a decision, and you were never the one who was too late. What will you do when you hear it? When it comes out? When everything collapses that you thought you had already coped with? Will you cry? Will you scream? Will you laugh inside because you always knew it? Or will you simply be silent like back then, but this time out of clarity, not out of powerlessness? Because you are no longer the person you once were. You have matured in the fire, refined by questions that had no answers, hardened by disappointment, healed by truth which you found in yourself long before anyone spoke it. And yet, it will hurt, because every late truth always destroys a bit of respect, a bit of faith, a bit of heart. You will lose, but you will gain yourself. You will fall, but you will land deeper, on solid ground, because now you finally stop hanging in the air between suspicion and hope. You will get it, completely raw, finally. You You were ready before anyone had the courage to tell you everything. And maybe that is your curse and your strength, that you can bear the truth even when it breaks others. You will stand there, quiet, clear, awake, while others stutter, tremble, break, because you have long lived through what they are just confessing to you. You have suffered while they were still deciding whether to tell you at all. You went through the pain that they are only now understanding, and within you lies a calm that can no longer be shaken, because you were the tremor. You were the moment when someone felt, I can no longer hide it, because you mirrored too much, brought too much light, lived too much truth, and that compels, that exposes, that redeems, not everyone, but you. Because tonight you will fall asleep differently, not more lightly, not more happily, but more truthfully, and maybe, for the first time in your life, free. If you feel this, comment. I knew it before it was said. You thought you were already free. You learned to function, to keep silent with dignity, to hold yourself together even when you were melting inside. You talked about it in therapies, in thoughts, in conversations with the sky, but you never heard what you actually needed. Never the words, the one who could have sealed the crack within you, because no one had the courage to say out loud what you have always known. Until now, you feel everything condensing, how the air becomes heavier, how your perception breathes louder. Because what has been kept from you for so long now stands directly in front of you, no longer as a shadow, no longer as a feeling, but as an unavoidable reality. Someone will say it, or have to say it, and you will not only hear it, you will recognize it. Because the truth has always spoken through your system. You felt it in dreams, in migraine attacks, in sudden withdrawals, in tears that you could not explain. And now it finally has a voice. It does not come with remorse, not with honesty. It comes because it can no longer be suppressed, because your clarity has become too loud, because your presence has become too real, because your silence became too confrontational. And suddenly it breaks out, the confession, in a moment that you did not plan, between a sentence, within a glance, in a phrase that sounds different than usual, and you will not scream, you will not break out, because you have already lived through it, in your innermost being. You lived for years with an invisible pain, with the feeling of not knowing everything, yet still bearing it all. And now you know you were never the problem. You were the truth in an environment that could only sustain itself through lies. And now it breaks. Finally, what happens within you when you no longer have to doubt, when you no longer question yourself, but see that you were always right, even if you were judged for it? You will not triumph, you will not laugh, you will be silent. But this silence will not be stillness, it will be a statement, because you are no longer where they once broke you. You are no longer the same. You've been through every hell and kept your fire. Now the true break begins, not with others, with your old self, with the version of you who suffered to belong, who stayed silent to avoid losing, who swallowed to be loved. That version is dying now, honorably, but definitively, because you no longer need a lie to feel secure. You don't need closeness that's grounded in deception. You don't need a connection if it's based on falsehood. You need you, whole, non-negotiable, sacred. And that's what you are now reclaiming. You, your intuition, your inner voice, your complete acceptance of yourself. You see differently now. You hear differently now. You live differently now. Because you walked through the darkness and realized that you yourself are the light. The confession changed nothing. It only confirmed what you already were. You were always ready. You were always right. You were never too much, never naive, never wrong. You were simply deeper, more awake, further along. And that puzzled them, scared them, silenced them, but you never stopped looking. Now something else begins. No happy ending, no salvation from the outside. Instead, an awakening, an inner rising. You are rising, not with drama, but with dignity. You will no longer fight where you no longer need to fight. You will no longer stay where you would lose yourself. You will no longer explain what is obvious, because if they don't see you now, they were never blind, just comfortable. And you are no longer available for comfort. You are fire, and fire no longer waits for permission to burn. You will walk your path, without loud goodbyes, without asking, without accounting, because you find your peace not in another's answer, but in the clarity of your own steps. Your steps are now sharper, your gaze razor sharp, your heart free. You keep moving forward, not because of what was said, but through what you have always felt. And you are not walking alone, you are walking with yourself, finally. If this has shaken you, if one of these lines reminded you of what you have buried deep inside, then stay silent no longer. Subscribe now, because the next part hits even deeper. Comment on what has surfaced in you, without fear, without a mask, and share this video with someone who has been waiting for too long for a truth that no one speaks. This is not just content, it's a wake-up call. And you have heard it.